today, we're going to go ahead and take an in-depth look at all of Alabama's 2018 opponents and kind of gauge the difficulty of another national championship run. So with that being said, let's get to our Week 1 opponent, and that's Louisville. And it does feature two of the premier programs in college football at first glance. So of course, the 2018 Louisville Cardinals will be a far different team than the one that Lamar Jackson led over the past few seasons. The 2016 Heisman winner is off to the NFL, and the Cardinals must replace the majority of their starting defense. As a result, Alabama is definitely an early favorite. Up next, Week 2, September 8th, they're taking on Arkansas State at home. And though it's not an exactly elite non-conference opponent, Arkansas State isn't your typical Sun Belt cupcake. The Red Wolves have posted a winning record in 7 consecutive seasons, including 4 in a row under head coach Blake Anderson. Justice Hansen is one of the top group of 5 quarterbacks in the country and will also work behind a veteran offensive line. Let's move on to Week 3. They'll be taking on Ole Miss away, and it's been a tumultuous few years for the Ole Miss Rebels, but the program appears to be one of the more stable grounds in 2018 than it was last year when they were embarrassed 66-3 in Tuscaloosa. Matt Luke should also have a strong offense led by their quarterback and an all-SEC wideout A.J. Brown, who led college football in receptions, yards, and touchdowns last season. However, the Rebels must improve a defense that finished dead last in the SEC, giving up 460 yards a game. Ouch. All right, let's move on to Week 4, taking on Texas A&M at home. This season, Jimbo Fisher will make his first trip to Tuscaloosa with the Aggies, but it will be the second straight year the two coaches have squared off. The former Florida State head coach lost 24-7 to the Tide in Atlanta last year, and Fisher's arrival means that changes for a Texas A&M offense that ranked in the middle of the pack last year in the SEC and managed just 5 yards per play in conference games, which ranked 12th in the league. All right, let's move on to Week 5 now, September 29th, taking on Louisiana Lafayette. Alabama hosts another first-year head coach and former Saban assistant to close the September schedule as he brings in the Ragin' Cajuns to Tuscaloosa in Week 5. Now, their head coach, who spent 2017 as the offensive coordinator following a 4-year stint as wide receiver coach for the Crimson Tide, inherits a difficult rebuilding job. Louisiana finished last season 5-7 overall and must replace 9 starters from a defense that ranked 124 nationally. Week 6, taking on Arkansas, and a third new head coach in the period of 3 weeks. Chad Morris and his new look Arkansas Razorbacks welcome Alabama to kick off October. Morris relied on an up-tempo, smash-mouth spread offense while orchestrating a recent turnaround at SMU and brings a new culture to last year's SEC West cellar dweller. It will take time for Morris and company to rebuild the Hogs, who finished 4-8 and 1-7 SEC play a year ago. All right, Week 7, taking on Missouri at home, and Alabama has played Missouri just 2 times since the Tigers joined the SEC, with the most recent meeting a 42-13 victory for the Crimson Tide in the 2014 SEC Championship game. Mizzou posted its first winning campaign since that season last year, finishing 7-6 overall and 4-4 in the conference. Led by rising senior quarterback Drew Lock, who led the SEC in passing and touchdowns last year, the Tigers boasted an explosive offense that was tops in conference and ranked top 10 in the FBS in both yards per game and yards per play. Week 8, taking on the Vols, and yet another SEC program in transition, and with former Saban assistant at the helm, new Tennessee head coach Jeremy Pruitt will square off with his old boss for the first time on the 3rd Saturday in October. Pruitt, who was defensive coordinator at Alabama during the last 2 seasons and who was part of the Tide staff from 2007 to 2012, hopes to reverse the Vols' fortunes after a 4-8 season that included a winless run through the SEC and a 45-7 loss to Alabama. Week 10, Week 9 was a bye week, and thank goodness, because they are taking on LSU, and that extra week will be needed to prepare for what could be arguably the toughest road game in the 2018 schedule. As usual, LSU will have a bye heading into the SEC West showdown as well. The Tigers have 2 best players in the SEC in linebacker Devin White and cornerback Greedy Williams, but the roster is in flux following the loss of 8 senior starters and 6 early entrants to the NFL draft. Let's take it to Week 11 now, taking on Mississippi State at home. Alabama survived a trip to Starkville to beat the ranked Mississippi State squad 31-24 last season. This year, the Bulldogs will have one of the most experienced teams in the nation, although they are yet another SEC rival with a first-year head coach at the helm. Joe Moorhead, following a successful run as the offensive coordinator at Penn State, should keep the MSU offense humming along, assuming quarterback Nick Fitzgerald returns to form following an ankle injury. Week 12 taking on the Citadel, so the Crimson Tide host the Citadel, an FCS opponent, in what should be a cupcake week ahead of the traditional regular season finale rivalry games. The Bulldogs posted a 5-6 record in 2017 against a difficult schedule that included a 61-3 loss to Clemson. All right, and now let's take it to the Iron Bowl, happening November 24th, week 13. And the 2018 Iron Bowl offers Alabama a rare opportunity for revenge. The Crimson Tide were out of sync in last year's 26-14 loss to the Tigers, and Jalen Hurts' struggles on the road helped set the stage for him to lose his grip at the starting quarterback position. Auburn should have one of the top defenses in the SEC once again, and the Tigers boast one of the most stable quarterback situations in the conference, with Jarrett Stidham running the offense. However, Alabama has won 3 in a row against its arch rivals at home. So let's go ahead and quickly go through the schedule one more time for you guys. Week 1, we have versus Louisville. Week 2, Arkansas State. Week 3, taking on Ole Miss away. And then Week 4, it's versus Texas A&M at home. Moving on, Week 5, we're versus Louisiana Lafayette. Week 6 versus Arkansas. Week 7 versus Mizzou. And then Week 8 at Tennessee. Week 9 is a bye week, which is a good thing because Week 10 is at LSU. Week 11 versus Mississippi State. Week 12 versus the Citadel. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl to wrap up the season. All right, guys, I'm going to quickly take it to a reaction poll because I want to hear from you guys. How many wins do you think the Crimson Tide will have in the 2018 season? If you think it's 12 plus, go ahead and give me a heart. Thumbs up for 11 to 10. If you think they're just going to barely squeeze and make that 9-win mark, give me a wow face. And if you think it's going to be 7 or under, which I am laughing at, give me a ha-ha face. All right, guys, that was the Alabama Football Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lena Bond Sports. And until next time, roll Tide.